Well, hello and welcome to episode 184 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, the weather has cooled off. You're starting to see some leaves starting to turn. You're getting pumpkin spice lattes if you run into the coffee shop.
Mm.
And everyone's mood has switched to something a little spooky, a little demony, a little trickstery. And this is the perfect time of year to watch something like Beetlejuice. And luckily, we're getting a sequel to that original film from 1988. We went out and saw it, and let's talk about it today.
We are going to talk about it today. It is called Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, but careful because you can only say those things three times before Michael Keaton in really weird zombie. He's got like dirt on his face or mold. Is it mold? I don't know. He
It's
looks
mold
like a
or
zombie.
moss. I don't know.
It's really weird. And he'll show up and he'll scare the bejesus out of you and anybody around you. But he'll do it in a hilarious way. So as spooky as it is, it's also pretty funny.
I will say the IMAX HD of it all in 2024 definitely showed off that makeup a little bit better for sure. Getting into this film, so let's do this, Michaela. Well, let's take a quick break. We need to mix up a cocktail that is worthy of a reunion, right? That, and we're going to talk about this cocktail. So grab your Aperol, grab some strawberries, and let's take a quick break. And we'll be right back to mix up this week's drink.
This week's cocktail comes from the Imbibe magazine, and it's called Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. But shh, don't say the third one.
Oh my gosh, you almost blew it right there, Michaela. Yeah, this one it comes from Imbibe. It is really, really good. I wasn't sure if you would like this one or not when we get into the ingredients here, and we're going to talk through those a little bit. But before we get started, we're going to need some strawberry syrup. This is really pretty easy to do. Actually, it's just akin to making a simple syrup, except you're going to steep some strawberries in there, and that's exactly what I did. So go ahead into a saucepan, take a cup of sugar, a cup of water, and then roughly a cup or so of strawberries. Just slice the little green tops off there. Cut the
Mm-hmm.
strawberries in half, toss them in. And then what I like to do if I'm doing a fruit infused kind of thing, I keep the heat pretty low, like as low as I can to try to get the sugar to dissolve. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kind of in there without getting the heat up like crazy, like boiling, because I don't want like cooked strawberry flavor. I want to keep that as like fresh as you
Yeah.
can. So get the sugar dissolved, and then just basically let it sit there until it's cooled off completely. You can bottle it, stick it in the refrigerator, and then use it like you would any other sort of simple syrup. So now you have strawberry simple syrup. Add it to your gin and tonic. Add it to vodka soda. Add it to your old fashioned. Do anything with it. It's going to give it a strawberry kick. It's going to be delicious. And it's going to be delicious in the Beetlejuice. Uh, I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah. No, and if you don't want to go the homemade route, that's okay. But just know that it's going to be a lot more syrupy and sweet. So this calls for an ounce of that strawberry syrup. You might want to take
Mm,
that down to half an ounce. My son had like a Hershey strawberry syrup, and we tried it with that, and it was very sweet. So
yeah.
just know that going in. I mean, we're using Campari and absinthe, so there's a lot there's a lot to combat the sweetness, but just food for thought there. So what you're gonna
Mhm.
do? You're gonna get a shaker tin with some ice. You're gonna put an ounce of Aperol. You're gonna put quarter of an ounce of Campari. They sound like the same thing, but they're not. You're gonna put half an ounce of sweet vermouth in there. Your ounce of strawberry syrup, homemade or otherwise. Some absinthe. How much absinthe did you put in? Because it doesn't really say much about what we should do in the ingredients here.
Yeah, I think it says like 1 to 2 tablespoons in there. I keep my absinthe in like a little mister. So I just put in about five or so mists of that. I would guess it is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like a I don't know, like a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a
Mm,
half, something
mm,
like that.
yeah.
But just enough to give it that flavor. You're not really looking for like the alcoholic presence of the absinthe as much as just the aroma and the flavor of that absinthe, which is very, very black licoricey tasting.
Yep, it sure is. So I hate that black licorice flavor. It is not my favorite. So what I did was I did like a bar spoon, which is like half a teaspoon, because I wanted the kind of the lusciousness that the star anise and the licorice is supposed to do, but I
Mhm.
did not want it to completely overpower the entire drink, and I was really scared. So that's what I did. You're gonna shake that up, put that in a glass, and then what I did was then add some sparkling water on top. So you're not, you don't want to do the sparkling water in the can or in
Mhm.
the shaker. Now this calls for a red licorice garnish. I couldn't find red licorice anymore, but I did find a Twizzler, which is not the same thing.
That's true.
Thank God, because it tastes way better in my opinion, even though it's just sugar. That is in like this gel form. But anyway, that's what you can use. It's a really fun garnish. It's like red on red on red, which is great because in the movie, we're red on red on red to get married for the second time to Michael Keaton himself.
Ooh.
So,
That's right. Yeah,
ooh.
absolutely. You put this together. It's pretty easy to put together. Michaela, you did yours in a shaker. I even went easier than that. I just got a glass with some ice and just put the ingredients in there, gave it a stir, and then added the sparkling water, some club soda there at the end, and gave it a little zhuzh. It's very much tastes like a slightly bitter, slightly licoricey, like strawberry soda. Which is pretty good. I like that quite a bit. And then the color of it is beautiful. It's kind of like this burnt red sort of color.
Yeah,
Really delicious. So definitely give one of these a try. It's worth making the strawberry syrup, like I said, because you can keep it on hand, or don't maybe you don't do the Hershey's roots, but look and see if there's like some strawberry syrup like in your like coffee aisle. If you have like a fancy like coffee like gourmet aisle, they might have something like that. Or you can play around with that. You don't have to necessarily use strawberry. You can use that same method for any sort of like fruit syrup that
sure.
you would want to make. So give that a try. And try this cocktail, the Beetlejuice. Now that we have those made up, Michaela, let's go ahead. We'll grab another one because that was pretty tasty.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It was tasty.
let's take a quick break. We need to head to the movie theater. We need to sit down at our IMAX theater, and we need to see what the Deetz family is getting up to. So let's do that. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Beetlejuice.
When I was a teenager, a trickster demon terrorized our entire family and tried to force me to marry him. I believed he was gone forever until you found this in the attic.
Ew. Who's Beetlejuice?
Don't ever say that name.
Beetlejuice.
No, Astrid! I am serious. If you say his name 3 times, he will appear.
Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose.
Spoiler warning for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. If you've not yet seen this film, and it's very possible that you haven't because it's only been out for like a week or two, we're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about all the scary moments. We're going to talk about the funny stuff. We're going to talk about the ending. We're going to talk about the big spoiler that happens like 3/4 of the way through. So this is a very real warning. If you want to be spoiled,
Yeah.
if you've seen it, great. If you've not seen it and you don't want to hear anything about it, press pause. Go make yourself a Beetlejuice cocktail. Make some strawberry syrup. It'll be amazing. Go see the movie. Come back and we can chat about it then. You've been warned.
That's right. You have been warned. Dun dun dun. And also probably moderate spoiler warning for the original Beetlejuice as well. If you want to hear more about our
Truth.
journey with Beetlejuice, the original from 1988, you can find that over on our Patreon, patreon.com/drinkthemovies. So, Michaela, as you mentioned, this was just released. It was released in 2024, directed by Tim Burton. Back to helm the reins here for this one. And it stars Winona Ryder as the paranormal television host, Lydia Deetz. Catherine O'Hara is her mother, Delia, and Jenna Ortega is Astrid, her disenchanted daughter. And of course, Michael Keaton is back as Beetlejuice. There's a couple of other people in this that I am sure we will talk about as we weave our way through this. So, Michaela, the original Beetlejuice, it comes out in 1988, and basically from like the minute that that came out, everyone was speculating that there was going to be a sequel to that film. But it took a long time, right? It took what, like 36 years to get that
36
sequel.
years. A long time. It took a really long time. And there's a lot of hype around this film. You know, this is yet another year where we're doing sequels, right? Twisters came out, which is kind of like a sequel, but not really. They did a new Crow that is not a sequel. It's kind of a remake, but like a whole bunch of these, you know, adages is I don't know, homage is paying homage to you know, movies that were amazing 30 some odd years ago. This is another year of that. And so I feel like people were either going to be incredibly pleased or incredibly unhappy with this film. And so there was a lot riding on it, you know. Tim Burton has a reputation for being visually stunning, really weird and quirky, and also his comedic kind of style is very on brand. I mean, it's something that he owns for sure. But we were all a little, well, I don't know if we all were, but you and I were both a little like, how are we going to make this work? Because they're going back to the house. It looked like there was new characters. Beetlejuice was back. There was this weird girl that was beautiful but looked completely stapled together. How does she fit into it? We're going to talk about all of that. I can't wait.
That's right. Yeah. So let's get into the movie a little bit here. We're probably going to move this through this pretty quick in case you haven't had a chance to see it, so you can go out and check it out for yourself. But we pick up on the story with Lydia Deetz, right? She is running this talk show. It's like this Ghost House, I think, is the name of the TV show that she's on, right? And she's like a paranormal, I don't know, like psychic sort of thing, right? She can
Yeah.
speak to dead people. She's having some guests on there, so we're reintroduced to her, and we're introduced to her manager slash boyfriend kind of thing. His name is Rory. He seems kind of like a guy that you kind of like to hate on. He's played by Justin Theroux, and Justin Theroux is not a kind of guy that I like to hate because Justin Theroux is amazing. Big man crush on Justin Theroux. Love Justin Theroux. And he's great at this role for sure.
Yeah, I think if you breathe air, you probably have a Justin Theroux, like really weird style. It's very like he's trying to be like super in touch with his feelings, but he's also really creepy and gross. And for whatever reason, Lydia Deetz, she's either like too emotionally like drained because she talks to ghosts now. And remember from the first film, she's the only one who can see the ghosts. And apparently that's something that she carries with her the rest of her life. So she sees ghosts all the time and she doesn't want to. That sounds horrible, actually. It's kind of funny in this film, but it sounds awful. She is really haunted by these images of Beetlejuice. He keeps kind of showing up, but he's not really there, and she's freaking out about that a little bit. And Rory is really no help. He is obviously just in it for her fame, her money, her body, whatever it is. He's not really caring about her or Lydia's daughter, who's played by Jenna Ortega. Her name is Astrid. She's a teenager, and they're kind of on the outs because Lydia's husband, Astrid's father, died. I guess Lydia and him had already broken up because there doesn't seem to be a lot of like romantic love lost there. But Astrid is just really still completely brokenhearted about the death of her father. He died somewhere in the jungle, apparently, and they've never recovered his body, and Lydia can't see him. They've called to him. They've done a lot of seances and stuff, but Lydia can't see him, and it really just makes Astrid angry, as you would.
As you would, yeah, that's right. As your teenage daughter there, they don't get into too much about the, I guess, kind of relationship, especially between Lydia and her ex-husband or her husband, I guess, there to that sense. So, but yeah, so they're a little bit on the outs. They know that, but they are going to get reunited, right? Because Grandpa, right, has died, has suffered some terrible fate. We get a little bit of a claymation sort of thing there that. Is going to talk about Charles's death. So everyone's going to get back together, right? So we've got Lydia there. They're going to have to go pick up the daughter. I like Lydia's reunion with her mother, Delia. It's at this like art studio, right? Carrying over from the first thing. She has this big, huge art studio now, and she's very torn up about the fact that her husband has died and that he left her alone, and that her star is not going to shine quite as bright now. So we get Delia back in there, played by Catherine O'Hara, and then they're going to go pick up Astrid from her school on their way back to Winter River.
Winter River. Which is still this little town, right? The world has moved on in 36 years, except in Winter River. Everything is still kind of the same. The big house on the hill. The house looks like the house it did at the very beginning of the original film, which is kind of interesting. It's got a lot of the old stuff. It's got a lot of the new stuff still. It's kind of strange. But they covered it in the shroud.
Has a giant veil over it. Yeah.
The house is in mourning. I love it. And so we see some of this family dynamic. So, Delia, which is the grandmother played by Catherine O'Hara, and Lydia, which is played by Winona Ryder, they've kind of mended some of the rift that we saw in the first film. They talk about a little bit, but they're gonna have the funeral for Charles. I love the art direction. We got to talk about this. It was an opportunity for Tim Burton to do something different and also stay in his same like stylistic signature look, right? There were certain things that it took me a couple of times to watch them in the art from an art direction standpoint to really understand. I love, for example, the funeral. Charles's headstone is in the shape of like a shark fin because he was eaten by a shark. It's great. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really funny.
It's in the shape of a shark fin. It's like made out of like crystal, right? It looks like one of those
right.
like tchotchkes that you get like at the mall, right?
At the mall.
Like
Yeah.
like sets on. And it's this big shark fin, and it says like at the bottom, it's like husband, father, and bird watcher, which is hilarious. That's pretty great. Yeah. So dies in a shark attack, and they're back to Winter River, right? To go back to this house and things, and we start to explore a little bit, I guess, the relationship between Lydia and Astrid a little bit there. And Astrid's rubbed the wrong way, right? She thinks their mom is like this total fraud. She's like, yeah, you can totally talk to ghosts for sure, except you can't talk to dad. So what's up with that, mom? And Lydia's like, well, I don't know how it works, right? I didn't make up any sort of rules for this.
I wonder, though, because at the end of the first, and this was an opportunity that I think was missed in the film, if I could be critical about one thing. At the end of the first film, they have the book about the, dead and living together and like trying to figure things out together, right? They should have had that book somewhere where Lydia's like looking for answers because she can see the dead, but she can't see that dead. So like, what does that mean? And have another jibe about it being written like it's in stereo instructions, right? Because there's a whole thing in the first movie about that, and I was really hoping for another joke about that in the second book or in the second movie, and it didn't happen. But
But in fairness, if she would have had that book, it totally would have ruined the foreshadowing bit that we're going to get here very briefly, right? Because Astrid is riding through town, right? She's kind of on her own. She's just riding her bike through town, revisiting, I guess, her mother's old stomping grounds a little bit, and ends up, kind of crashing her bike into this treehouse and meeting this boy. So she goes into the, chats with this boy and ends up going over to his place a little bit later, and he has a copy of that book, right? That he found that he says he found at like a rummage sale or something like that. But it's the book that you get when you die. So there you go. Alarm bells are going off in my head for sure. But Astrid doesn't know any better.
Astrid doesn't know any better, and it's interesting because I really loved that character. She meets this guy, Jeremy Fraser. He is played by
Arthur Conti. And I had to look him up because through the whole movie, I'm like, this guy looks super familiar. Where do I know this guy from? And he was in an episode of House of the Dragon, and that's the only thing he's ever been in. House of the Dragon, an episode, and then this. This is a really big role in a really like big, I don't want to say, Beetlejuice isn't like a franchise, I guess I wouldn't say that, but this is a big monumental part for someone, that young in your acting career. But he was awesome. I really liked Arthur Conti here as this dude.
Yeah, and did you know he auditioned for the role over a Zoom call? Like he didn't even go face to face with Tim Burton. Well, yeah. He must have been so amazing because his presence in this film is awesome. Look out, world, because this kid is going places. I found his performance to be like amazing. I really, really liked his character. I loved like the duality he has. Apparently he was told that he got the role on April Fool's Day, and so he totally thought that it was a joke.
Thought it was a joke, yeah.
Joke was on him because he's in it. But yeah, we see Astrid kind of start to like this boy. He seems to really like her. It's kind of sweet. He's like, let's hang out on Halloween night. And Halloween night is apparently the night that Lydia is getting married to Rory, because Rory decided who picks a funeral to get engaged. Rory does, because he is awful. He is the worst.
He's trying to lock that down. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Funeral, okay. Halloween, whatever. I like Rory's like planning for the wedding. He's like, oh, I ordered you some dresses from the city. Rory just wants to get this ball rolling, I think.
I ordered you some dresses. I also told everybody and their mom we're getting married. So like the entire world is gonna like live stream it.
Yeah, but literally, I think he's like Lydia's about to lose her mind, so I need to I need to get this
Right.
taken care of right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, in the underworld, in the is that the right way to say it? I don't know. In Deathland, we have a whole bunch of shenanigans happening. Beetlejuice is still there. Michael Keaton is like now, I don't know. He's in like an insurance call center is what it looks like with a bunch of shrunken heads, one of which is named Bob, and we really love Bob. Bob is like the best. He's kind of the leader of all the other shrunken heads. I don't know how they answer the phone. There's a sign. Again, the set's amazing. There's a sign that says the keep the phone ringing all times. Like the phones need to be answering the phones. They're all shrunken heads, which means they have their lips sewn shut.
Well,
so I don't know how they're answering the phone, but that's okay.
well, I think
That's okay.
well, I think well, I think it's his like possession agency, right? That's what we see in the first film. That's what like the little like
Oh,
commercial is for. It's like his possession firm, but we don't ever go like inside of it, right? So we never see it like in the first film. So I guess this
that
is
makes sense.
just like that office realized, right? And they're answering phones. He's there. He's running around, and yeah, he's going to get a bit of a blast from a past. You mentioned a very lovely lady, Dolores is his ex-wife, apparently played by Monica Bellucci. I really love kind of her introduction to the film, right? Because there's like a scene. Danny DeVito is there as like a janitor. He gets like his soul sucked out of him by Dolores, and she staples herself back together. If only we could all look so good, stapled together every morning.
Right.
But she is there, and she is back on the prowl, I guess, to get her. I don't know, like her revenge on Beetlejuice. I never really understood what her like intent was,
She
other than she just wanted to get back at Beetlejuice
to kill him because he
to
hurt her.
to re-kill him. I think she did.
Yes,
He kill.
yeah. Like, well, she did, but yeah, like, yeah, he should not have been trying to marry what's her name either. Because
Oh, Lydia,
remember
yeah.
in the first film, her finger falls out of his pocket. And he's like, and he
Oh,
takes the
yeah.
ring off to give it to her, and he's like, "That woman meant nothing to me, nothing at all." Oh, like that was genius because I mean Tim Burton, he was like, I got to do something with that, and she puts the finger back on and staples it. It's so good. Yeah, she is a woman scorn. She goes to like apparently the underworld also has dry cleaners. And so she goes and like sucks the life out of some poor dry cleaner dude to get a wedding dress, and then she dyes it black. So she looks totally hot, totally amazing. She's the best looking dead body I've ever seen in my life, and she is out for blood for Beetlejuice, looking all over the place. Meanwhile, they have crime solvers in the underworld because even when you're dead, all I don't know, crime
That's
still
right.
matters.
Crime is rampant. Yeah, absolutely. We get
Wolf Jackson character, oh my gosh, he's the best.
yeah. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is playing Wolf Jackson. Wolf Jackson's amazing because he's like this private eye, like FBI agent, like superstar, but he's really just like a B movie actor, which is really good. And he's going to be sent to like solve this crimes, right? I guess Dolores is not meant to be back from the dead, so they need to go investigate that. They think it probably has something to do with Beetlejuice. So a lot of this is just Willem Dafoe running around in crazy good makeup, right?
Yeah,
Super awesome looking, and I love him because he's like so like deadpan serious about what he's doing, but it's such like a cheesy like how like a cheesy like B movie like
yeah,
detective would be doing something. It's amazing. Willem Dafoe is awesome in
yeah.
this too for sure. But yeah, so things are coming together, and we're all going to have, I guess, kind of a reunion in the underworld, right, in the land of the dead. So you have Astrid there and that boy Jeremy, right? Jeremy says, "Hey, I think I found a way to get your dad, to come back to life, or to let you see your dad again, or something along those lines." So he reads from that book and has Astrid read from the book, and they go down into the underworld there. And it turns out that he hoodwinked her a bit, right? Convinced her, didn't really convince her, right? She just read this thing, didn't know what it meant. But basically, she's going to swap her soul for his. So Jeremy's going to be able to come back to life, which is bad news because mom, Lydia, finds out that Jeremy, that kid was no good. Killed his parents. Fell out of a tree when the police showed up, broke his neck. That's not great. She needs to go rescue her daughter, but there's only one way to get into the realm of the underworld, the land of the dead, and that's to call in a favor from your old pal Beetlejuice.
Yeah, which she is very loath to do, right? Because the last time they met, Beetlejuice immediately fell in love with her in this weird, gross, like 14-year-old way because she was a teenager. That's gross. But he was like, "Let's get married," and she was like, "Fine." And so she does that. She says his name 3 times. He shows up. They have a discussion, and he's like, "Look, this my ex is out to get me. I need to get remarried." And she's like, "Got it. I get it. Okay, I'll marry you." And he makes her sign this contract because he's like, "You're not getting out of this time." And as a mom, she's like, "I'll do anything. We need to find my daughter." And so they go in. And I love, look, the hallway from the very first movie is epically recreated. We see it multiple times in this movie. It's so good. I mean, it looks exactly the same. I don't even, maybe it is the same and they just brought it back out. I have no idea how they did it, but it looks great. But Winona Ryder's character, I really love like her willing, like her and Beetlejuice's chemistry or banter back and forth is pretty great in this one because they actually have to talk to each other more than they ever did in the first film.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of good. There's a lot of really interesting aspects to like the death world or the underworld that I really was excited to see Tim Burton expand on. The way he describes it in the first world is if you if you died by suicide, then you were like in the civil service. And so there are all these folks that are like, that are waiting in line to go and talk to somebody. And they all have stories of how they've died. And they've got like weird, like there's a woman who was eaten alive by her cats. There's a guy who, I don't know, he's got lots of tar all over him. And he didn't read a sign and fell into like a vat of tar. And we see Charles, he's like trying to find something out too. Like his body's walking around. He doesn't have a face, but he's like, "Hey, I'm confused. I don't think I'm dead." And they're like, "Dude, you're definitely dead. Like half your body's missing." And there's that old banter. And so Beetlejuice kind of brings her through that. They bring her through, brings Lydia through this immigration group to try and find Astrid. And Astrid is in this immigration line, just like in the real world. It's really weird. I guess there's just no escaping it, is really what Tim Burton's point here was, which is sad. I was really hoping in the afterlife we don't have lines. That would be nice.
There's even a bureaucracy in the afterlife. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's not great, right? Because you're in this line, and basically, it turns out that Astrid is going to get swapped over for this. All Jeremy has to do is go get his passport stamped by someone. But luckily, I guess there's an ally there because as they're running through there, the passport line, Astrid's father is there. I like to he died in the Amazon, the river, so he has a bunch of like little like piranhas hanging off of him, which is pretty good, and he's going to come and try to help get Astrid out of there. Obviously, they have a little bit of a reunion there with Lydia as she's running through there. Meanwhile, Beetlejuice is trying his best to evade his ex-wife, but they eventually do get out of there, right? Because they call in the favor from Beetlejuice, who sends Jeremy straight to the pits of hell, which is not good for Jeremy, but good for us and the rest of us there. And Lydia and Astrid are able to go back to the land of the living, and now it's time for a wedding, right? It's time for the actual wedding. Between Lydia and Rory, right at the church there on Halloween. But Beetlejuice, he's got that contract signed, so he's going to go ahead and take this wedding over, and that's going to be really good. Probably the most fun there because they're having that. Beetlejuice, injects Rory with some truth serum. They end up singing like an entire like David Bowie song. What song was it? I forget. Off the top of my head, but they sing like you think they're just going to do like a little bit of it, but they do like the entire song. It's amazing because it just like keeps going and going and going. Which is great. There you get Willem Dafoe's coming in, like hiding behind headstones and trying to run in. You got Rory there getting knocked out because he, admits to that he just wants to marry Lydia for money, basically. And you have Beetlejuice there who's trying to, get this wedding done and dusted. But luckily, Astrid is a pretty smart cookie. She finds out that Beetlejuice broke the law, so that contract is null and void. Happy days, happy days.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Lydia had a red dress. You probably love that.
Lydia had Oh, yeah, yeah. No, Lydia was wearing the same red dress. It's the same, and it fits her because she's a rock star and gorgeous. It's ridiculous. It's 40 years later, and she still looks amazing. Oh, yeah. And and we forgot. Delia Deetz. She was in the cemetery that night, right? And she was paying homage to her husband, and she thought it would be a great idea to buy some asps, which are the snakes that Cleopatra used to die.
Hmm. Hmm.
She thought it'd be a really great idea. She bought them on the internet and they were supposed to be defanged. Well, they were not defanged. And so she ends up getting bitten and dying instantly. And so she was in the underworld as well. She is watching this whole thing unfold. And I really love the music scene because everybody has like they're all lip syncing, but they're being forced to by Beetlejuice because that's the power that he has. And at the same time, like their eyes are like totally not matching what they're doing and what they're saying. It's really wonderful. But when Beetlejuice finally gets put back into his box and is sent away, Delia has to come to terms with the fact that she also has to go because she died. And there's it's kind of bittersweet because between Astrid and Lydia, they've made peace with themselves, right? The mother and daughter, and then now the mother, daughter, grandmother, they kind of have this bittersweet goodbye. But all is not lost because Delia ends up going to the Soul Train place, which is it's like a subway station that where all the souls go to wherever they're all supposed to go, right? And it's amazing because they play disco music and like Motown, and it looks like a really good time getting on the train. And who does she see? Who does she see on that platform? She sees half of her husband. It's so great. She's never been so happy to see Charles, and he can see her even though he doesn't have eyeballs. And it's great. They embrace. It's really a good ending
They're reunited, even though Charles is like spurting blood out of his like esophagus and sticking out there. Yeah. As you might imagine, this film is pretty random. It does hold a little bit more linear storytelling maybe than the first film. I don't know, but yeah. So the wedding has come and gone, right? No wedding to Rory, no wedding to Beetlejuice there. So Beetlejuice is sent back there. Dolores shows up at the wedding, kind of right at the end there, and they end up kind of everyone heading out, and that's going to leave Lydia and Astrid there to finally have a chance to talk about what happened. Very true to the character of Delia, right? When she realizes that she's dead, and they're kind of saying their goodbyes. Astrid is like, "Well, now your art's going to go up in value," and Delia is like, "Oh, well, that's good." So.
Yeah, because that's something that's important to her. Same old Delia, same old Delia.
Same old Delia.
Yeah. Well, and then Lydia decides she's gonna quit ghost housing or being a medium for hire. So she films her final segment of her last episode because she would like to just spend more time with Astrid. They lost a lot of years being estranged and Astrid being upset. So this is going to give them the opportunity to go travel the world together. Astrid always wanted to do that with her dad. I really liked that, actually, where they started to tick some things off of Astrid's bucket list. But unfortunately, Lydia is still having nightmares about Beetlejuice. And some of it's real weird, like a baby Beetlejuice comes out of her body.
It's very disturbing. Well, it comes out of Astrid body, which is even more disturbing. But luckily, that's just a nightmare as she wakes up and Beetlejuice is laying right next to her, says that he had a bad dream, and she kind of rolls over and she's gone. So I guess Beetlejuice is meant to haunt her psyche forever now. Just don't say Beetlejuice too many times because that's how you summon him. So that is it. I don't know if we made a mess of that, but the story is a lot of fun. I had a really good time watching it, Michaela. There were a couple of highlights there. Obviously, it did a lot of things to pay homage, back to the old film. You still had your little like sock puppet sandworm as you go out, I guess, into the void. If you go through the wrong door, that's pretty fun there. You had some singing. I really liked Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton's Beetlejuice in this, like as much or more probably than the original. I felt like we got more of him. It was a little bit more impactful the times that he was on screen, even in the first one. And I like that quite a bit. I really like the direction that this went, and that makes sense, I suppose, because Tim Burton is back to direct this. I guess he wasn't always slated to direct the sequel, but obviously back for this. So, 36 years on, certainly he had some thoughts and opinions on what he'd want to do with the story, the direction of it. And, ultimately this was, kind of birthed from his brain, I guess, in a way, originally. So, kind of his
Sure.
story to tell. So it definitely felt very much to me like this movie could have very well been made like in, I don't know, 1990 or 1991, right? As the follow-up to the original Beetlejuice.
Yeah. I mean, I really I liked it. I thought that the energy was a little lacking in this Beetlejuice character. I loved that we got more of the reasons why and how he became Beetlejuice and things like that. But I would have liked him to have had the faster cadence in which he spoke, because he spoke really fast in the first film. And I don't know if they made a conscientious decision to slow it down because we needed to understand more, or if it was just because Michael Keaton is older. And I'm just not sure. I would have liked a little bit more of that energy, but to be fair, everybody's kind of slowed down. Lydia, there were certain things that she said where I was like, come on, is that really what you would have said when you were 15? And that's just on me because, hey, people are allowed to change and grow up, right? But I really
I hope
liked
not.
this. I thought,
I hope not, to be honest, because I hope that I wouldn't respond to same things the same way as I would have when I was
right,
15.
that's what I'm saying, is that it's on me to stop expecting that of people. Because a lot of time has passed between her
Also, quick
singing
aside,
Jump in the Line.
Michael Keaton, 73.
73.
His birthday was 7 days ago. Happy birthday. Happy 73rd birthday, Michael Keaton.
Michael Douglas Keaton,
Michael Douglas
apparently
Keaton.
now,
Yeah, there you go.
or something is
Mm-hmm,
what we're
mm-hmm.
saying now. Yeah, I like this. Look, the old one, the first one, the original, was very impactful to me. It was one of the first like scary movies I ever saw. I really loved it. I really have a lot of nostalgia. I thought this did a really great job of blending the old and the new. You have to kind of let things go in order to really embrace new stuff. This has been a lot of that for me this year. A lot of movies have done that. This did it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And and it had Monica Bellucci in it. I mean, what can go wrong?
What can go wrong there? Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I think that it holds up as well or better in my eyes, I think, than the original Beetlejuice. And maybe it's just some recency of having just seen this and not being as familiar with it. If I were to sit down and watch one of the two today or later on in the Halloween season here, I probably would pick the second one over the first one. I do believe. I think that is good. I think it did enough to tick the boxes for the old one, and everything that was in there felt like I had a reason to be. To throw back to Twisters, an episode that we had, I had like some winks and nods to the original Twisters, or to the original Twister, but it didn't like have any like purpose in doing so, right? It felt just very much like
Right.
sticking it in there for
Yep.
the sake of sticking it in there, but this felt very much like these things are in there because of, of these reasons, and I like that a lot. It kind of held to its own sort of standards that it had set for the world in that first film, right? It didn't seem to do like a lot of like rule breaking to like bend itself over backwards for a new story. And I like that a lot, and I appreciate that it exists. I thought that it looked great. I love especially kind of the intro, like going into like Winter River, where you're going in through like the real town, and it's like transitioning between like the real town and the miniature town. I thought that was really, really well done. I liked that. I liked, all the makeup effects, like we mentioned at the top, kind of that mold or moss or whatever that's on Beetlejuice's face. It's just it's so
Yeah.
much more like
Mm.
visually able to see it when you're watching it on a 200-foot IMAX screen, and you can see it on there as opposed to your little 13-inch TV with your VHS tape of Beetlejuice. So, it
Yeah,
looked
for sure.
crisp and stunning. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a really good time, and I think it's a worthy sequel for sure, even, this long running.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's worth your time. If you've not seen it, well, shame on you because we've spoiled it all for you. But go see it. Go see it again. It's definitely going to make it into my fall lineup from now on.
For sure, absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up here for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Let us know if you made it out to see that or what you think about it versus the old one. Let us know what you think about the old one. If you want to hear our thoughts on the original from 1988, you can do that over on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/drinkthemovies, where we're going to be mixing up a cocktail for that. Probably chatting about the cocktails we had at the movie theater last night as well. And if you have a cocktail at your movie theater or you make up a Beetlejuice, go ahead and send us pictures of that. We love to see that stuff. And you can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, X, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see our pictures of our cocktails, episode recaps, the links to the shop to drink the video games, all that stuff, you can do that on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. And you want to make sure you're staying tuned because we have a lot of fun coming up here as we head deeper into the Halloween season. We're going to be doing our spooky films in October like we always do. So you want to make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast so you're getting all that good stuff. Michaela, where can they do that?
Spotify podcasts are supported and distributed. We love what we do, and we can't do it without y'all. We do 2 drops a week. If you're liking what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button on your little rectangle that you're listening on. I guarantee it's there. If you really like what you're hearing, you can always leave us a 5-star review. Some of you have done that. That's been amazing. You can share us on all the social media stuff. That's also amazing. We love doing what we're doing. Check out Drink the Video Games. If you've not, it is fastly becoming amazing, and everybody's talking about it. Yeah, Brian's doing a great job with that. So if you love video games, even if you don't love video games, you should go check it out because it's really, really good. And that can also be found on all of the places where Drink the Movies can be found. We can't do what we do without your listenership, and we are so grateful for all of your support. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for that, Michaela. Appreciate that. So that is Beetlejuice. Will we ever get a Beetlejuice? I don't know. Tim Burton says he'd be over 100 by the time that next one would come out. It's on our current timeline. So probably not, but stranger things have happened. We'll see. Actually, on a side note, before we sign off, it didn't really feel like they were setting up a sequel too much from this, which is often the case. So there you go. So let us know what you think about this one. Mix up a cocktail, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
the movies.
Ew.